We have one of the busier LensCrafters sublease locations. We have 2 exam lanes, and we have doctors working, 2 doctors every day, 7 days a week. So I have the great opportunity of working actually with my husband. He's my full-time associate optometrist. In optometry school, I graduated in 2015, and when we covered business management and practice management, it was really all about private practice. And I really had no idea that there's this option to have your own independent practice within a corporation. And so I didn't know anything about it until I was a Luxottica LensCrafters employee as a doctor right out of optometry school with my husband. We both worked at 2 different locations. And when the business model here in California was changing, the opticals were turning into sublease locations. And then that's when I did some research about what is a sublease and what does that entail for me. And I really found out that it's pretty much like having your own independent practice and treat it like your own private practice, but with the support of a corporation like Luxottica, and being affiliated with a big popular brand like LensCrafters. So really in optometry school, I had no idea. And when I started my sublease, which was actually about a year ago, I had already been working with LensCrafters for 2 years prior to that. So I was already really familiar with the company and how everything runs, but I still didn't know what it would be like to be in a sublease and having my own practice. After I got involved, really it was really stress-free. It was like overnight I became a practice owner and really have no overhead, really just focus on seeing my patients and running my practice. So it wasn't in the plans to answer your question, but when I did get involved, I love it, and I'm still working in that field. So day to day, I really have management responsibilities as well as seeing patients. I can really coordinate my schedule how I wanted. I choose to see patients 5 days a week. I could, really cut it down and have my associate doctors working, but I enjoy seeing patients. So that's really my priority. To grow my practice is to have patients come see me so that they refer their friends and family, and my practice grows. So I still want to be involved with patient care as an optometrist, but I really enjoy the business side of it. And I get to be the leader and be a boss and really learn every day. I learn something new every day, and I'm still fairly new as a sublease location. It's been just about a year. There are a lot of doctors who are affiliated with Luxottica, and they've been in practice for like 15, 20 years, so they have a lot more experience than I do. But I feel like in this past year has been really growing, and I'm ready to take on more tasks. And I've learned a lot, and I feel like day to day it's really just about managing your practice as it's your own private practice. So you really have to be dedicated, and you really have to want to succeed and want to have more patients and grow your business.
So what does Luxottica do to support you?
I think it's a really interesting blend of having your own business responsibilities, but also your business freedom. I have the freedom of I don't have to hire staff myself. I don't have to run an optical. There are, of course, optometrists who do. In their own private practice, they run their opticals as well. But it's not always for everyone. With me, I really want to see patients, and I want to manage the doctor's side, and I don't have to manage the optical side. So LensCrafters and their support for me is that they fill up my schedule. My business is all about seeing patients, and I generate revenue from my doctor services, and how I attain that is by having my schedule full. So one thing that I really love about being affiliated with a big brand is that I have peace of mind knowing that they're going to help me grow just by getting patients and doing the marketing that they do on their end, and training and coaching and developing the staff from the store manager's endpoint on the employees, on making sure that they're helping me grow my business by adding exams and making sure all my patients get like the best patient and customer experience for them to want to come back. And so specifically, some of the benefits of being affiliated with the Luxottica brand, mine is LensCrafters, but of course Luxottica has Target Optical, Sears Optical, and LensCrafters inside Macy's, and they're all sublease locations as well. With LensCrafters and Luxottica as a whole, there's a lot of doctor resources in terms of like hiring and practice management tips, and there's conference calls. There are Eyecare directors and regional managers that you can turn to, and you will have support right away. So I feel like anytime I need any help, any support, I have any questions, I have a team that I can turn to. So I'm not by myself, and that's really gives me that peace of mind, so I can focus on running my practice. And if I ever need help, I have someone to turn to. So as a whole, like there's just so many resources for the doctors to support the doctors, and they do a lot of like marketing to help you grow. And I feel like that's a big plus because I know marketing fees are really high.
Yeah, I'm keenly interested in the staff management, hiring, HR culture side of things, because at Covering Light Careers, that's one of our core focuses.
Right.
So I'd love to dig deeper into that.
Sure.
Now, obviously, they're doing the hiring and stuff, but it does not sound like you are excluded from that and you're in your own bubble. It sounds like you are getting hands-on in every way, shape, and form. So what is your kind of like staff management philosophy, or the way that you like to kind of keep things running in the practice?
Sure, yeah. So I am definitely involved in the hiring process. I choose to be. My store managers really respect my opinion on terms of who they hire. The staff is not necessarily my employees. They are still Luxottica employees, but I'm involved in interviewing them, making sure I share my feedback and they take my feedback into mind when they're actually selecting the individuals. And when the associate with the employee is hired, I am also involved in their training and their development. And that's also something that I choose to be. It's not my responsibility per se, but I make it my responsibility because they are now part of my team as well. And they see my patients, they interact with them. So I want to make sure that they have the skill set needed to run a successful business. That includes from basic things of how to run a couple of equipment, how to talk to some patients, how to welcome them in, how to transition them off when I'm done with the exam, how they can talk about booking more appointments. I mean, lots of little things I give them tips on. My philosophy in terms of staff management is really about, you have to really have a good level of respect for them and them respect for you, and be really kind and friendly, and really make it a really nice, positive work environment. I feel that it's really the doctor, you don't want to have this kind of authoritative doctor appearance where they're scared to talk to you, and they fear if they do something wrong, they're in trouble, and you're not approachable. I really feel like doctors need to make sure that with their staff, that they don't have this scary authoritative presence, and be somebody who's approachable, kind, friendly, and lenient too. This is not their life commitment to focus every day on your business. This is a job that they have, and of course they should be committed, but they're not going to be as committed as you. So you have to kind of be lenient with their development and their growth. They're not going to grow overnight. You really do need to invest your time and dedication in training them and making sure that they're meeting all the qualifications you're looking for in an employee.
Spoken like a boss. That's exactly, I guess resonates with my philosophy for sure. And yeah, spoken like a boss for sure.
Thank you.
So when you're going through this hiring process, that's kind of the front end of it, but then you have folks in the practice who fulfilling their duties, getting compensated, whatever, but then there's this whole other piece around culture, right? And keeping it an office that's fun to come to every day, that's got more than just work, like you and I were talking about work-life balance and whatnot. And how do you kind of bring in almost that same bedside manner and cultural feel you have with your patients into your staff, which is totally a separate piece, right?
Yeah, it is, definitely. I think the culture in the workplace is super important. It has to be positive, it has to be welcoming, and it has to be something that the employee wants to come to every day. And that also depends on the rest of the employees. You really have to have a good team. If you have just that one employee who's maybe having a negative attitude, or maybe bringing the rest of the employees down with them. So it's really important to have, when you're hiring, to select the individual as someone who could be a team player, someone who has all the qualities and characteristics that you're looking for, somebody welcoming and friendly, smiling, energetic. The energy, I think, it's also a big deal, and that it also determines of whether patients are going to have a good experience and what ratings and reviews they'll give you, and for the whole staff, and whether they're going to refer your friends and family to them. So that depends on whether that employee who's helping that patient that you're going to be seeing is giving them the best experience. And so basically that has to do with just really working well in the same environment together. And about the culture, it's really making sure it's a really good environment to be in. And if you feel like there's an employee who is depressed, is down, doesn't really want to be there, is not doing their job properly, is making a lot of mistakes, I think that it's important to address that right away so it doesn't affect the overall culture of the workplace. And I think that a lot of signs sometimes show about certain people that you, as a doctor, you have to be really intuitive about your staff as well as a practice owner. You have to pay attention to their, whether anything's changing in their character, because that can affect your business and whether patients are going to have a good experience or not.
Mm-hmm. You seem to have it all together.
No, I'm still learning. I've only been a practice owner for a year, but like I told you at the beginning, I've learned a lot through my year, sure. And I like to learn. And I'm never like just putting work off at all. Like I'm always thinking about my business. Mm-hmm. My business is my life, and I want to make sure that my patients are happy. Mm-hmm. And what does it take to make patients happy? What does it take to have your employees be happy and want to work for you? How can you have a good relationship with your store manager? So I think I put a lot of my own personal time and dedication into it, yeah. Which I think a lot of practice owners should. And if they don't, then I think that their business might be affected.
Any cultural, like, just tips, like things that you guys do, events, ways to kind of relax a bit, or things that will let people's true colors or their non-work self come out and flourish a bit more in the workspace? Any like just tips that folks can implement in their practice, whether mm-hmm. it's Luxottica branded practice, whether it's private practice, right. Whether you're in a VA, it doesn't matter. What mm-hmm. are those elements that, or like specific tips or tricks?
Yeah, I think that as a practice owner, you should get to know your staff. You should know kind of like what, where are they from, their family. You have to kind of get to know them a little bit. Mm-hmm. And also celebrate their like successes and yeah. Make sure that you are acknowledging them and thanking them for what they're doing. Some things we do as a team is that we celebrate birthdays. Everybody chips in and we like order food, or we do a potluck. So we celebrate a lot of occasions, and that also does a lot of team building. We have a lot of store meetings, and we all discuss like business related things together. Mm-hmm. But really just personally with the employees is to establish a good relationship. I really think it's important not to get too close to your staff, and like not have like a really like too close of a friendship, because that might affect your productivity or their productivity at work. They might feel a little too relaxed, and then you would feel a little a little difficulty to give them some positive feedback or criticism because you got a little too close. So it's important to establish like a respectful doctor-staff relationship. At the same time, you have to be nice, and you have to be friendly, and you have to be approachable. And in order to do that is to when there's not that much business going on or any patients there, really talk to them. How was your day going? How was your weekend? Are you doing anything fun for the weekend? And we really just kind of chat. It's not all work at all times. Like when there's no work to be done at that moment, of course there's a little office management things to do, but you can do that while actually carrying a conversation, getting to know each other, and being like just normal. Yeah.
No, that's a really important distinction you're creating, and I appreciate that you brought that up, because it is, I think in one of my first roles, I got really close with the staff, and then it was hard to kind of back out of that. And this was a role much earlier in my career, not here at Covalent Careers. But so that's such a good tip. And then I think continuing from that, what it sounds like is one needs to decide whether the culture is going to be around work ethic, winning, getting it done. We're here to grow, we're here to succeed, we're here to provide the best patient experience, versus we're here for, this is more of a life experience. And we're here for reasons, while work is important, there's other things that are very, like, I guess what I'm getting at is you need to set the drumbeat or the North Star, like, and if it's
and have a balance,
right, have to keep it balanced. But that will dictate your decision making a bit based on that North Star of where you want to bring the practice.
Yeah, I agree. I think it is kind of hard to find that balance of making sure you are having everyone perform the best and grow your practice with you, and listen to all the feedback that you have and apply it. But at the same time, you have to make sure that it's not so uncomfortable for them, and it's not so that they have the option to take it easy as well. So you kind of have to find a balance.
Yeah. Keep me in check. You gotta keep it flexible sometimes. Sometimes it's really tough. You're like, we gotta go, we gotta do this, we gotta do that, and you can kind of make it really tough for people to breathe. It's like you gotta relax sometimes.
Yeah, like personally, like if we have a really full schedule and the patient just checked in, they're late, and then the pretest hasn't started, and my next patient is here, and I come up to the retail floor and I want to kind of help with that. I could approach it like really sternly and kind of like a little like okay, what's going on? We need to get this started. Or I can choose to approach it differently. How can I help you guys? Do you guys want me to start with this patient while you get the next one?
Yes.
Work as a team with them.
Yes.
Although they are my employees in a sense, I need to support what they're doing too. And they're wearing a lot of hats on their own, on like the optical side, on the doctor side. I am as well. So really, I always look at it, what I could do to help them, because they're helping me in return.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
I like to get involved with that.
It's so critical that, you know, the leader is kind of selfless in that way, and that can really, you know, you've got to understand that you are the leader, and people will follow your kind of attitude and your cadence, you know. What are some of the mistakes that folks can make if they don't take your soon-to-be provided advice? I mean, where do people screw this up? And you know, especially on the staff management topic, that things can just go south. What can they learn from you? Maybe mistakes you've made or mistakes you've avoided.
Yeah, well, I think that getting started as a new optometrist at the beginning, I think I was really lenient and really like easygoing. So, you know, if a certain employee made a lot of repetitive mistakes, like they kept messing up a certain test on pre-testing over and over again, or they took really too long with the pre-test patient, and I have like a time limit, I'm like, I want you to do a pre-test within 10 minutes so that I can get my next patient going. So let's say that they repetitively just kept falling short on that. I would let a lot of it slide, and I wouldn't talk to the store managers. I wouldn't even tell them, because I thought, you know, it's okay. Maybe next time they're going to fix it. I think that was a mistake that I made, and I think maybe a lot of optometrists and practice owners do that too. They could be a little too lenient, and that can affect their business and how it's running every day. Right. And I think you have to have a good balance of being firm as well, and giving a lot of coaching really right on the spot. So for example, if you see that something isn't going smoothly with an employee, or how they're handling a certain patient, or what they said to this next patient, you really have to pull them aside right away and address it. And I do that often, because I will forget later on. I'll have a busy schedule, and I have all these other responsibilities. So, so if you see that an employee is not performing or helping the patient a certain way, and you are expecting it a different way, then just kind of give them the advice. But you have to do it really nicely, and you have to do it privately and not embarrass them. Just say, thank you for everything. I know you're doing a great job, but next time I want you to make sure you work on this. And we'll talk about this later to make sure that you did improve on it. You have to follow up as well. And I also think it's important for doctors to focus on also like the management, like staff management, in terms of write-ups and associate performance reviews, APR reviews, and make sure that they're involved with that. As a Luxottica branded practice, we're not really responsible for that, but your store manager is, and you can work with your store manager to make sure if there is a staff member who isn't performing at the level that you want, you talk to them about it, and they coach them, and then you follow up on the coaching. So being too lenient was the mistake that I made at the beginning, and I learned that, and then now I think I have a good balance I'm still lenient. I give them a lot of chance to improve, and I give them feedback and advice, but at the same time, I do take it the next step forward. I do make sure that they have a written review about it, and so that way I know, like, are they going to improve, and if they don't improve, maybe it's just not going to work out with them.
Yeah, I definitely have the leniency kind of gene as well.
Yeah.
And I kind of have a bit of a philosophy or rule where if something's going on the first time, I consider it my fault, actually. I didn't do the proper training or the proper explanation.
Right.
Second time, still, what am I not seeing? What did I do wrong? As the leader, you've got to position yourself as that. Right. Once you start getting into that third time and onwards, it starts to become clear that it's not necessarily you. And it can be a mix of both parties, but so I definitely have the leniency piece in me as well, and it just depends how tight you want to run things, or how tight cash flow might be. There's a lot of things to look at
definitely.
Around how much leniency you need to have. If someone's really new in the position and growing and gaining experience, maybe you want to have more leniency. If they're more senior and should already have that experience,
I agree. Yeah,
it's maybe a bit
you have
tighter.
To cut down to the chase. Yeah,
it's got to be flexible.
Right.
How do you go about just keeping everyone in the office kind of up to date on the latest stuff, and whether that's sharing with them articles or whatever? How do you kind of go about training in a way, I guess?
Yeah. So the training is actually really interesting with being involved with the Luxottica brand location. A lot of that training and development is done by the store manager and the brand side. So in terms of like modules that they work on, and like new lenses that are being released, new different like progressive lenses, and all the training on terms of the optical side is really already done for me. So the training that I do, which is related to the doctor side, and what I have kind of control over, is like new technology in terms of the contact lenses that are being released. So anything that's like doctor related, and different ideas I have on like growing the practice and in increasing amount of patients. So I do kind of do personal one-on-ones with the employees. I also do like store meetings and group huddles. I personally keep up with like staff management and tips and everything just by reading like magazines and optical magazines like Review of Optometry or Envision, and like I also learn a lot just from like ODs on Facebook threads, and I get to learn a lot there, and if I find out something new, I like to share it with the staff. So I want to keep them up to date too, in terms of anything like doctor related.
So let's pivot a bit to growing your practice and kind of what you're doing there. Go off of staff management for a bit.
Okay.
And once again, any questions, let us know. When it comes to just growth, what friction points have you had, or where has growth been difficult? Tell me about the tough times.
Okay, so growth as like a sublease practice owner?
Yeah, just growing it, you know, bringing new patients in, keeping your schedule booked,
right.
That type of stuff.
Yeah, so one of the advantages is like those peak months, like the end of the year, like November, December, before insurance runs out. I know business is high, and I know we're going to get a lot of walk-in traffic, as well as summer months like June and July are really busy. But then once those peak months are done, then we have a little bit of a slow month, and then the business drops a little. And that's where I really have to step in and figure out, what do I need to do in order to grow my practice? How can I get patients in? So, and I get the team really involved with that. I make sure I'm addressing that with the store managers during our weekly meetings and then our daily huddles. So I pump up the team saying, business is really low right now. We want to make sure we're getting every exam we can, how they should talk on the phone, and welcome family and friends in, and how they can do some mall marketing, because we're located inside a mall, so we can just do some local marketing and get the team involved there. So basically one of my challenges was like when the peak seasons are done, business slows down. What can I do to help grow it? And it's really, that's where the doctor like business side comes out, and like the leader part. So I have to like really put my business hat on and figure out what kind of things I could do. The great thing about being affiliated with like a Luxottica brand is that I do also have that peace of mind that I'm going to get patients. It might not be like my full week goal, but I know that I'll get the patients that way. So I really have to put in my effort as well. And make sure that my patients are bringing their family in, and they're having the best patient experience, and they come back next year, and really getting the staff working on my patient recalls. So I really get the staff involved, and I get the store manager involved. And so when business is down and I'm struggling, I know that I have somebody to turn to assist me. And also what helps is like having your associate doctors get involved as well.
Right.
So my full-time doctor is actually my husband, so he's also equally involved. So I do have that plus that I can have him do equal amount of work. And if you don't have, of course, like a spouse as your business partner, you can get your own associate optometrist involved and in marketing your brand as well. I mean, they're your employees, so maybe you can give them like, some motivation and some compensation to help you grow too.
Production-based
Yeah,
as well.
yeah. So if they can kind of make sure that they're meeting their goals, set some goals for them, I think that can help you too. So you have to kind of figure out some different ideas on how to like grow your practice.
Yeah. What has been, just for any practice owner out there, what's like one or two things that have worked really well? Maybe they're not even that deliberate, but they just are a side effect of, say like reviews or something. Maybe that's part deliberate and part it just happens, right? But what are the one or two big things that you'd recommend for other practice owners to do to grow their practices in what's about to be year 2020?
Yeah. So I think that one important thing on growing your practice is the patient themselves, giving them like the most comfortable, best exam that they've ever had, so that they want to return and they refer their family to you. I think family referrals are a really big deal. Like my whole business motto is to be the best eye care provider for the whole family. So I don't want just...
That's a good one.
Yeah, so I don't want just like that one patient. I want to see their spouse. I want to see their children. I want to see their parents and their siblings. So, and I think that will be really crucial to my business growth. So that really has to do with how does that patient feel when they're in the exam lane? How do they feel when they're in the pretest lane? How do they feel when they walk into my business location? And how do they feel when they leave? So it's all about that whole patient experience. So my advice for like practice owners, whether they have their own private practice or whether they're affiliated with the Luxottica brand or another brand, it's all about, my tip would be to make sure you're doing like the best exam for them and educating them about everything that you're doing, talking to them, getting to know them, establishing a connection is also really important. You don't want to just make it a 5-minute exam where you just measure their prescription and they walk out the door. You want to establish a connection. Yeah. I think they're going to walk away knowing, oh, that doctor really cared about me. So, so that's part of the whole patient experience. I think that will help grow the business.
Yeah, I think that's such a good point. I'm glad you brought it up because I think a lot of times folks see larger entities, larger employers, we'll call them. Everyone knows the brands out there as being places where you can't get a good eye exam.
Right, yeah. It's a misconception.
There's some pretty scary stuff out there, and it's kind of sad just to see that some private practices are still operating that way.
Right, yeah.
One of our team members here is, still in OD, but like I remember he would do like 30 comps a day. It was a private practice.
Wow. Okay.
And then, it actually got bought out by private equity and it got a lot better, the conditions. And the patient care got better. And the staff, their compensation rose and they had more reasonable schedules. And like, there's a lot of misconceptions out there. That's why I love doing this stuff because you go straight to the source of truth, you know? Granted, there's a spectrum though. There's a spectrum based on where you are in the country or whatever it might be. But I guess the point is you got to do your research. But like I said, you're a shining role model for what a great Luxottica branded practice sublease should look like, I think.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I really feel like I'm truly saying my honest opinion about it.
Yeah, no, I could tell.
Yeah, like I'm here for like part of this brand for a reason. I get to have my own freedom of practice, and I could practice full scope. I can do anything really I want in my own practice. But I have so much support for it too. So, and I think that the misconception is that these retail location sublease offices are really just doing this really quick exam. They're not finding ocular diseases and they're missing this and they're not treating that. It's absolutely wrong. I treat almost so many anterior segment conditions. I find so many eye diseases and I manage them myself and I refer them. So I spend 20 to 30 minutes per patient. I make sure that they have like the full care that they're here to have. I do a lot of of course contact lens exams. I don't do too much medical yet, but that is part of my my choice. So I do want to add more medical billing and medical equipment into my office, which I plan to. So
that's going to be exciting.
Yeah, so I can really grow to whatever level I want, and I think that that's part of the misconception that I can, and I'm stuck with just doing refraction, and that's not true.
So let's go into that growth topic real quick. I had another question of what has not been helpful for growth, but what does growth actually look like? I mean, you can add, more a way to bring in medical billing, right? Because you're keeping all your fees and everything like that. Right. So maybe some specialty contact lens that would be included in that as well. And then I guess, does it also come down to just keeping your schedule so booked that you use the maximum amount of lanes at the maximum amount of time, and then actually you're able to take some time off and just make your husband do everything?
Yeah.
Or really bring in another associate so you don't have to work some of the hours you don't want to anymore. Is that what growth looks like?
Yeah, so growth I think will look different for every type of practice. Mine is unique in the sense that I have a 2-doctor lane. I'm running 2 doctors every day for 7 days a week. But of course there are locations that have just 1 doctor, and it's you'll be the practice owner. So you can decide if you want to work all 7 days or you want to hire someone to work for you. Of course you probably would hire someone. Yeah. But growth really looks like for me is to schedule properly and to work with your appointment book to see where's the time of the day that you're really needed. And if it looks like Saturdays gets really full, then you need to get a second doctor. So you really have to think about which are the peak days of the week that you need, that your business has a lot of patients coming in and customers, and that you can really capitalize on that and add extra hours, open up your lunch lane, so your lunch hours. So that way you can take your lunch maybe a little earlier, a little later. Maybe that lunch period where you actually have it closed could have been the opportunity where a lot of people walk in. End of the day hours. So I think that you really have to look at your practice and look at your schedule and see where you can capitalize on adding exams, because really the revenue as a doctor of a sublease location is all from the doctor services.
Right.
So it's about how many exams you're seeing, whether you're doing contact lens fittings, whether you're doing like retina imaging, because you're getting all the revenue for that. And you have to really figure out your schedule and how to increase the amount of patients, but not necessarily just load it up with patients. You have to think about it wisely. You want to make sure the patient's having, strategic, and hire an associate optometrist if it's just too much on your hands and you want to take more of the management role and you want to just like maybe work from home and work on a lot of marketing techniques. Make sure you have an associate optometrist there working for you. Maybe you can come in for a few hours only and on the peak moment and take care of a couple other things. So I think you have to really balance like the business side and think about what will help you grow, and that would be unique for each location. So I don't think there's one general rule. I think each location will have its own.
Yeah, it's not binary. It's not just this is very simple, cut and dry.
Yeah.
It's certainly there's a gray area and a finesse to it. There's an art to it, right?
Yeah.
How do you track productivity, and like what metrics are you tracking? How are you setting goals around them? What are some of the most important things, KPIs, key performance indicators that you are looking at? Maybe just yourself, maybe your staff as well. What do those look like?
So for my staff, like as a doctor stand-up point of view for like business and generating income, the main thing on productivity is their personal exam goal. Whether all the employees, based on the amount of hours they're working, they have an exam goal, and that's how many exams they can add for the day to help me grow my business. And so I hold them accountable to their exam goal, and also I hold them accountable to how many like retina imaging, because that's also doctor revenue for me that they're doing, and I provide spiff. So if let's say they do 50% to their goal, then they'll get spiff coming from me directly.
What's spiff mean?
Spiff is just really like a monetary like a bonus, like let's say $2 for every retina image they took for my patient. This is coming from my end, from my payroll, and not from Luxottica's payroll. So they get, of course, their hourly rate there. But I think that can apply to like all doctors, of course, in any practice. If you're in a private practice, you can compensate them and give them bonus based on their productivity.
Sure.
And you can measure the productivity, of course, weekly or monthly or however you choose. I measure it monthly. I just kind of see their how many exams was their goal for the month, where they're making it. Then we do performance reviews with them. If somebody, like an employee, fell short about making their goals, we talk about ways that they can improve and kind of give them another like month to kind of see if they improve and give them a lot of tips and advice on how to approach it differently.
Sure.
And we do that actually a couple months, and we have it written reviews. And then if we feel like their productivity is not improving and they're kind of declining, then we really have to look into other measures. Maybe there's something holding them back, but that can affect your business. So as a doctor, I measure the productivity on the amount of patients they are booking for me and type of exam that they're booking. Their productivity in terms of the optical side is not measured by me. So, so I'm not really involved with the optical, like whether they're selling frames and lenses and their average dollar. So that's not measured, part of my responsibility.
Got it. So who's ultimately accountable at the end of the day for ensuring that the goals are hit? And I guess it's maybe partially on the doctor, but partially on you as the leader, right?
Yeah, it is. So I think I have a big role in that, and I'm held accountable to whether the goals are hit. But really, the store manager is really the key role in that position of making sure that the employees are making their goals and they're productive. So I think that as a practice owner, wherever you work, you have a store manager and you have a practice manager, and your practice manager should be held accountable for that productivity if they're really managing the staff. But you as a doctor are as well. The practice manager is your partner and someone who is going to help you grow. So you really have to communicate well with them. You have to have like frequent meetings and make sure that you're reviewing last week's results and what were some things that you missed last week. What can you improve this week? And really look at your productivity week to week. See how many patients are returning, your retention, ratings and reviews, review that together. I think that you're kind of like 50-50 on that. You really have to take some accountability.
So what are some of the things you're looking forward to kind of coming up that you'll be doing or implementing punctal plugs, nutraceuticals. I mean, anything to obviously grow, right?
Yeah.
What's on the docket for you?
So I really want an OCT. I really want to start doing medical billing, and because I do have a lot of patients who, you know, look suspicious of glaucoma and have some macular issues, and I need to run an OCT on certain things. Of course, I'm referring them out for that right now, but I think I can retain that patient and get that business revenue from it if I did have the additional equipment. So an OCT is in the radar in the near future, and then also a lot of dry eye management, like you mentioned, punctal plugs is something that I want to look into, and you know, like some, you know, MGD lid margin devices, and just kind of growing a dry eye practice, I think, because I have a big contact lens practice, and along with that comes dry eye. Yeah. So I want to start managing and treating that too. So I have a lot of plans in terms of growing the medical side. I think like step by step, little by little, I'll kind of add that on.
Yeah, I'm sure you manage to treat dry eye now. You mean really just kind of like taking that to the next level?
Yeah, taking it to the next level. We definitely treat dry eye right now as well.
It was really, when I was practicing, it was like one of the single biggest, most helpful things for bringing in patients. Yeah. A lot of stubborn dry eye and people who are having a tough time. And then we did a lot of, I always like blogging and writing and content creation just like this. What do you know? Yeah. And that was actually really helpful to bring folks in. And we got a bunch of really difficult cases too, which was nice. So the dry eye space is huge. It seems to be getting worse. I'm sure there's some epidemiology numbers out there on kind of what's up.
I really feel like it's the environment. It's just their digital, like they're being on a computer, their air conditioner, I mean, just so much. And you can't avoid that. Yeah. So I think it applies to every single patient. And so that's a really important part of, as an optometrist, to really venture into that and take it to the next level and be that doctor that they can turn to. Yeah.
And if you're doing the contact lens side, I mean, you're not going to have successful contact lens patients if you've got dry eye patients. Yeah, so
absolutely agree.
Then the Santa Ana winds start blowing here in San Diego, and it gets really dry, and then you know that's season. It's like end of the year season.
I agree. I personally have really bad dry eyes, so I can imagine.
What have been like maybe just some surprises or just interesting things that have happened along your journey that have been pleasant? I suppose that this is a really nice feature or aspect to this mode of practice, and it fulfills you or makes you happy or helps you grow or helps you make more money. Yeah. Anything that's kind of come along that's been a bit of a, oh, cool, I didn't know this before.
Yeah, well, one thing that really is something that every day I like leave the office for thinking is that I'm just so grateful to have a business with the support. So my schedule is full. Like I might walk into work and I might have like 5 patients on the schedule, but I'll leave the day with like 15 to 20. Right. And that's because I have, I have a lot of same day appointments. I can rely on the staff that I know that they're going to fill up my schedule, because that is really their motivation, and their training and their coaching is behind building my exam lane and filling up my schedule. So one thing I leave with every day is just knowing that I'm just so grateful that I can have a successful practice, and then I can walk away home and just kind of enjoy the rest of my evening and my family and friend time. So something that I've learned along the way is to make sure that you are having a good life balance as well. Like focus on your business while you're there and even outside of it for just a little bit, but then also having time that you could appreciate and enjoy your life outside of work.
Yeah. I'm curious for those out there who are, because I met your husband and whatnot, what's that been like working with your spouse? I get to work with my brother.
I know, yeah, that's great.
But what's it like for you?
I think it's great. I think that we met in optometry school, and so we already knew that we had a really good friendship, and of course we got married after school, and then we started working together. We started working together just as a fill-in and employed locations, and we realized we worked really well as a team. So for me, it's really helpful. I mean, on the days that I'm working by myself and he's not there, I kind of wish he was there, because he's always helpful to like help manage like patient care with me, and I can take care of some admin stuff while he sees patients. So we really work well as a team, and I'm really grateful for that. And I know that's not a common thing. So and it doesn't work for everybody, but for us it does, and it really helps us have the same mission in life and the same like business outlook. And we have a lot of like discussions over dinner about our business and how we want it to grow and where do we want to take it, and how do we feel in the sublease position. Like, are we enjoying it? Do we want to continue? And of course we do. And so we really see this as like our own private practice, and we are on a mission to help grow our own private practice. So yeah.
Yeah, that's super cool, and I guess it's a really nice time to reflect, and it's actually a good signal, I think, for those passionate about business would enjoy a dinner conversation about their business after a long day of business.
Right, yeah.
And that'll wax and wane.
I think I talk a little bit about too much business more than he does.
Yep.
Sometimes like, okay, no more work talk. But
Yep.
I feel like, to be a practice owner, you really have to want to run a business. You have to want to be a business owner. And you have to... you really have to put in that time and dedication and like read and learn and research and really figure out ways that you can grow your business. And so I don't think it's for everybody to be a practice owner. You do have to have that part of in your character and your personality to want to be a leader, to want to be a role model and want to like, take charge and take action and kind of see something grow for yourself. So I think people can also like develop those skills. Like going right out of optometry school, I didn't see myself as a business owner right away. I actually had no idea what kind of optometry modality I would be in until I started. And then I don't think that I was as a leader as I am now from the start. I developed these leadership skills little by little. So I think that it's an opportunity for any new graduate optometrist to become a business leader, even if they don't possess the skills right now. I feel like, oh, I'm too shy, or I don't want to really have too many responsibilities. In reality, it's not that many responsibilities. What you're doing, but just a little bit additional, and it's to your own benefit. It's your own business. So if you want a higher paying income, you can make that happen for yourself. If you're happy with your income, and you can be steady. But I think that anybody would want to grow and earn more money. So you have to put the time and dedication to that.
Yeah. No, like I said, I think you're a great role model. I had some like mentorship hours at Vision Expo West. I did like a 2 hours of 15-minute one-on-ones with people who wanted to schedule.
Oh, okay.
And almost every single one was an individual who was either opening cold, joining a practice, and a bunch of first-time sublease folks.
Okay.
And it was just a very interesting trend to see how popular this is, how many people are gaining experience from this, how many folks were happy in that modality. Some people had very unique situations, but there's certainly a lot of confusion out there on how to properly do it. So it's really nice to get some of your input on that. Everything down from like, should I use a C Corp, an S Corp, an LLC?
Right.
How do I grow? What should I think about for the long term? So there's a whole host of people who have a lot of questions out there, but I think you're giving them some amazing insights.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that it's really easy. It's not as stressful as it might appear with the long list of things that you have to do to get started. And I think that you just make a list of the things that you need to do and just attack them one by one. I think anybody could really get involved with that. And if you are interested, you really could just look into the opportunities in your area.
Yeah. Any other just closing thoughts on, or not really thoughts, but advice I think would even be better for those about to embark on this journey as well? I know you kind of went over a ton of stuff. But
Yeah, so I think that for like new graduate optometrists or even optometrists who are practicing right now, and I think it's really important to love what you're doing and in the work environment that you're in. So whether you're working as an associate optometrist for someone else and you want to open your own practice, or you want to join as a sublease doctor for a brand like Luxottica, I think that you really should just like look at your options and kind of go for it and not be intimidated or wondering whether it's the right thing for you. You won't really know until you try. So I think that you should take all the opportunities that you can. You should do your own research and kind of really look into these options and take the chance. I think that as an optometrist and as like a new grad optometrist, I consider myself still a new grad. I mean, it's been 4 years, but I still am at the beginning and I'm still learning. And I think that what really helped me become successful was that I was open to opportunities. I took every opportunity I can.
Yeah, said yes.
And whether that was part of like, volunteer work or anything that I did or fill-in work, I really wanted to know, well, what would it be like if I worked here? What would it be like if I did this? And then once you try, so basically be open to opportunities, try a couple of things and find something that you're passionate about so you can enjoy, put all your dedication into it.
Yeah, I think earlier in your career when you're trying to figure things out, you should be saying yes a whole lot more than you're saying no.
Yeah, I agree.
And that just opens so many doors. You'd be surprised, like so many great things going on now were just like little yeses that I made back in the day. And I was like, wow, thank God I agreed.
And you learn from something. You will learn something from any opportunity that you take. And whether it was just that one moment that you just tried something new, but I think there's a lot of things that you could take back from that, and it will be very beneficial for your future, and like it'll come up somehow.
Yeah, for sure. Well, for those of you wanting to get in touch, Matt at Covalent Careers is my email, covalentcareers.com. Check out the site. how can folks get in touch with you? If you want to give your email, we've had people like throw out their cell phone number. Probably a bad idea.
I won't get my cell phone. I already get a lot of scam calls.
Yeah.
But my email is laheqa@gmail.com, Laheqa. If anybody has any business questions or practice management questions, staffing questions, Luxottica related questions, you can reach out to me.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you
I
for
think we're on
having me.
Facebook, so I don't think you could like and subscribe. But if this is on YouTube at one time, they say smash the subscribe button. So do that. But thank you again.
Thank you so much for having me.
Take care, everyone.